This week, the annual Friedman conference went online, and I was delighted to be involved hosting a session with Australian Bitcoin podcaster Stephan Livera. We talk about why people who believe in freedom should be more interested in Bitcoin. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Bitcoin and when you associate that with the idea of freedom?
The best mental shortcut, if you will, is digital gold. It's like a long-term savings technology, but it is outside the power of the government to inflate that money. Imagine if you could easily transact and nobody could stop you. Imagine if you could save and nobody could stop you, and they couldn't just centrally inflate that thing, right? And it's something that you can have. It's almost like a digital property right. It's digital scarcity. And this is an incredible innovation. This will force governments to become smaller. Now, that's a longer term thing, but I truly believe that is an outcome if more people start actually saving into Bitcoin.
You think about the US dollar. Over the last 100 years, it's lost 98% of its purchasing power. People have got to be crazy to hold it for another 100 years, right? Now that people have a choice in currency, how is that going to change things?
Think about storing your value into hard money, something with a fixed supply. The hardest money wins overall, so long as it has the right features. And Bitcoin, in our view, has those features because it has a strict limit and you can send it anywhere around the world. You would rather save into something that's going up in value. And it's like a digital property right that the government can't so easily influence, right? So for example, if you have a house or a property, the government might lock you down and say, you're not allowed to go there, or you're not allowed to use it in this certain way. But with Bitcoin, when you use a Bitcoin wallet, like a software to manage your Bitcoins, then you are essentially getting a certain assurance and property right that is just not possible up until now.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about it being uncensorable money. Like for me, that's the most important thing. We have a money that can't be controlled. Now, if you look at what happened to the people in Cyprus, they wake up one day and a huge chunk of their bank account is just missing. The government's just come in and seized it, right? Or if you look at what happens in other countries, they wake up and their value's just inflated away, which is what happened in Argentina, what happened in Venezuela. There are all these ways that your money is just not controlled by you if you're using fiat money. And suddenly we have this money that, first of all, it can't be controlled. And second of all, it can't be stopped. It's uncensorable. Like, you're absolutely right when you say that you can do what you want with this. You can buy what you want. You can use it. You can basically act out your choices as a free individual using this money, and people can't stop you. There's no middleman with it. This is a peer-to-peer money. So as long as you're voluntarily trading with another person, exchanging with directly with another person, you don't have to go through a central bank, you don't have to go through a normal bank, you don't have to go through PayPal or any intermediary like Visa. There's no one to stop you doing that directly with that person. And I think that's just the greatest tool for freedom that we've seen in the last 100 years.
COVID has accelerated the war on cash. So if you wanted to be able to buy things privately with cash, well, now that is being taken away in terms of shutting down bank branches and ATMs. What's the next likely outcome? Well, governments will want to have negative rates and they'll want to have all of these ways of controlling you. Bitcoin is basically the technology that you can use to take that power back. You need to care about this. You need to start learning a little bit about it because standard political activism is not going to be effective. I think it's going to be a Bitcoin strategy.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's not just negative interest rates. It's this insidious financial system where you literally have to get permission to spend your own money. I love seeing people opt out of that. I love seeing people not just holding Bitcoin, not just putting their savings out of the reach of government. I like people just using it on a day-to-day basis, using cryptocurrency to buy their groceries, to pay their bills. All of that is easy these days. 10 years ago, it wasn't so easy. When I started making videos about this, wasn't so easy, and now it's really easy. It's super easy to live 100% of your life in Bitcoin. What you said about cash, I think, is so important. Australia has seen a war on cash. You're seeing it all over the world right now. And it's terrifying because why do they want this? They want this because they want to force people into the banking system, because banking system means control of your money. When you put your money in a bank, you no longer have control of that. You have to get permission to spend it. You have to get permission to access it. And what's more is that every time you use a bank card, everything you do is being tracked. I'm sorry, but I don't want to live in a world where all of my actions and financial choices are being tracked. I'm not doing anything wrong, but, I'm not doing anything wrong when I go to the bathroom either, but I still close the door. I value a private space in my life. When you can't pay with physical cash, you want to be able to pay with the money that is peer-to-peer on the internet. And Bitcoin allows you to do that.
Exactly. And let's chat a little bit about ways to get started, right? So obviously, I get it. To an outsider, it can look really technical. And we're going to give you guys some really simple steps. So for me personally, I would say just start out by buying a small amount, just like buy $20 or $50, whatever you can afford, and have a phone wallet. So I'm going to give you two recommendations. One, if you're on Android, I would recommend Samurai Wallet. If you're on iPhone, you can look up Blockstream Green. So I would think those are some great Bitcoin wallets, and you can buy a small amount of Bitcoin and receive it to that wallet.
Where would you recommend people buy it from?
If you have a local Bitcoin meetup, you can meet people there and buy a small amount from that. That's a great option. Depending on where you are around the world, there are different Bitcoin exchanges. So if you're in the US, a good one would be Swan Bitcoin. Another one is River Financial. Another one is Cash App. If you have Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin directly in there. So basically, if you look up Bitcoin exchanges in your local area or in your country, you will be able to find a way to buy some Bitcoin, or reading a little bit about it as well. So you might read a book, or you might listen to a podcast, or watch a YouTube video about Bitcoin. What are some suggestions you have, Naomi?
I would say earn it. I would say that's the best way, because when you go through exchanges, that's a kind of tricky realm these days. You've got all these KYC requirements, and again, it's a way for people to track your money. On Brave browser, for example, just from people visiting my site, I get a bunch of donations in basic attention token. I use the Uphold wallet. You'll be given basic attention token, but it'll go into your wallet in whatever currency you want. I put all of my stuff on places like Steam. Float is a great way. It's like a crypto Patreon. I have a site called Cointree, cointr.ee, and it's a place where people can go and just send you tips if they like what you're doing. If you've written a paper or you've published a video, they can just go and donate. So there are lots of ways that you can just start earning it, and you don't even have to go near exchanges. But let's take a step back again, because I want to go back to why this is important for freedom-loving people, and why people may not understand why this is such a game changer. So I think that what a lot of people say is that they don't understand the value of Bitcoin. They say there's like nothing, backing it. And that really kind of does people's head in, because people who love freedom, they tend to love gold, and they tend to love gold because it's a hard money. And I think we've got to start transitioning how we think about Bitcoin, right? Because gold isn't backed by anything either. Gold is the asset, right? And Bitcoin is the asset. And what's valuable about it is that you can transfer it to anyone across the world without it ever being censored, at very low cost and near instantaneously. So that is an incredibly powerful tool. If you think about all the people across the world who need to move money around and who have a lot of trouble doing it, why is it that people miss that value?
For me, it stems back to people not necessarily understanding how their normal fiat money works in the first place, right? And the way I would think of it, it's like you don't have to be a mechanic to drive a car, right? But what happens is people have maybe been sold the wrong pitch about Bitcoin. They've been told too much about the technical details of how the car works and how Bitcoin, you can almost take it like a little bit of a black box that just works in terms of Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's not like you understand the intricacies of how the Federal Reserve gives money to the banks, and the people don't really dig into that level of detail. It's more about what they can use this thing for. And I think it just comes down to understanding that it's more about viewing it as a monetary technology, if you will. That's kind of the way to think of Bitcoin, rather than getting too caught up into technical details, which obviously we can go into, but that's not the relevant part that you need to think about. And that's why I think it's good to read and learn a little bit more about Bitcoin. Things like the Little Bitcoin book or the Bitcoin Standard are some good examples of books that you can read that will teach you a little bit more exactly about how to think about Bitcoin. And I think, like you said, it's because people are trapped in a mindset of thinking, oh, it's not like stocks, it doesn't have a dividend, or it's not like bonds, it doesn't have an interest rate. But really, we have to think of it more like, what would make a better money, which has better monetary characteristics? Wouldn't you think something that was scarce and fungible and easy to send around the world would make a better monetary candidate than fiat money?
Was definitely designed to be a superhero money, and I'm incredibly grateful that it exists. Technology is a way that we can still maintain freedom in our lives, and Bitcoin's an incredible technology because, as you said, it's uncensorable. It's basically money for the internet that can't be stopped, and that's really exciting for me. But we've run out of time here, but thank you so much for chatting with me. This has been fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Today I have a mug filled with Guinness because you demanded it. Thank you, anonymous person, for the stout. You can send requests for the end of my videos to my Cointree page, and I'll almost surely fulfill the request within limits. This mug is available in my store along with a bunch of other cool stuff, and any purchase helps me keep my channel running and also gives you access to exclusive content on the NBTV members page. A huge shout out to all the NBTV members whose support enables me to make videos like this one. Sharing this video and subscribing is also greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, and Salancha. It's good. It's good. I don't often drink, but I do like a Guinness. Good choice, anonymous person. Also, this is the dog that I'm dog sitting. Hup! Yeah! You good girl.